There was a thrilling finish at Commonwealth Stadium. Excuse me, a little choked up. Thrilling finish at Commonwealth Stadium. You had the Riders taking on the Eskimos. Of course, the Eskimos at 1-7. It's got to be a little frustrating for the organization knowing that they are much better than their record indicates. You have Moses Woldu, who just signed a contract extension with a new GM, by the way. I know we had this talk on the weekend. Has the confidence of the team and the board, is loved by the fans, but you have to think now at 1-7, there's got to be changes made. Is Kavis Reed's job on the line, Kyle?
I would say yes. I don't care what sport it is. If you're 1-7 to start a season, especially one that only has 18 games, something needs to be looked at, especially based on how many games that they've been in right till the end and just can't come through or just can't hold on to the lead. There's got to be some sort of coaching decisions, or it's not all on the players. Like, there's got to be decisions that are getting made throughout the game that are affecting these outcomes.
There's been bad time management for the Eskimos. Montreal game, prime example of that. They basically ran out the clock and then went in shotgun formation, handed the ball off. What a stupid play. And then you look at even Saturday's game, a break or two, and they could have won that game. But at the same time, I think the turning point was when Riley threw it in the end zone and was picked off. But the play previous to that, he brings in a Cole Carey Joseph. Carey fumbles the ball on the 4-yard line. He brought him in to run from 5 yards in. Riley was running all game long, and he didn't really be too concerned about his being at that time, whether he was taking the big hits or not. So all of a sudden he brings in Carey, fumbles the ball. It forces them to throw instead of run. That changes the whole game.
Do you think, with that said, at 1-7, the Eskimos still have a chance for the playoff spot and are much better than the record indicates? Last 4 games, they've lost by a total of 12 points.
Yeah, they are better. Do I feel sorry for them being 1-7, being a Riders fan? No. But at the same time, yeah, and that's the way the CFL has been this year. Would you thought BC would have went into Montreal and lost? Would you thought BC would have went into Toronto and lost? You know, BC's lost some games that you kind of scratch your head. Who's really BC Lions? Are they that football club that can beat the Stampeders, can probably give the Riders a good run for their money too? Or are they that football club that lost in Montreal? So the league in general this year is way out of whack.
Eskimos, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I just think there's too many things that are happening, especially with the close games. If you can't win close games now, why are you going to be able to win close games later? They are better than their 1-7 record, but playoffs I don't think are going to be in the picture this year.
The only thing that could happen, the East is horrible this year. And the
crossover?
Eskies, all they have to do is win a couple of games, get on a bit of a roll. All of a sudden, you're going to be better than the Bombers. I think Lloyd Comp and Holy Rosary is better than the Bombers. and the Ticats aren't much better than the Bombers. So, yeah.
Well, even the Owls now, if Calvillo doesn't come back, they could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you know, a team that's not in trouble, however, there's a lot of criticism for the quarterback, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 7-1, but yet Durant still faces those comments. You know what? We should get in Drew Willie. Even at the game, they were complaining about him. Granted, his games previous, his first 5 games, he was fantastic, or 6 games. But his last 2 games, he's been so-so. But he's got the job done, made plays when needed to. Is the criticism fair towards Durant?
The most popular player in Saskatchewan every season is the backup quarterback. Rocky Butler. Oh, there was the next coming of the greatest quarterback in Riders history. One Labor Day game, and the next thing you know, Rocky Butler is gone. Nobody knows where he is. Yeah, it's tough being a starting quarterback in Saskatchewan, where you eat and breathe Riders 24/7, 12 months a year, and the guy that, you know, basically the man is supposed to carry the load is the quarterback, and if he doesn't, then get the replacement in.
Saskatchewan fans are just hard to please. I don't know what the guy has to do. 1-7 or 7-1, hasn't thrown an interception. And I was looking at some of his numbers, and he's on pace to pretty much have his best year ever. Touchdowns, rating, yards. I don't know. I'm an Eskimos fan, and I think Riley's having a good year, and they're 1-7. I don't know how Riders fans can possibly
you're right.
be unhappy.
Rider fans can be fickle at times. It's part of the passion, but you got to look at what Durant's done overall. Look at the team, what they've done overall. 7-1, their best start since the 70s, early 70s. Can they keep this momentum going for the next 10 games here?
That's a tall order. You're bound to have a bit of a slump. You just hope that it doesn't happen in late October. You'll hope that it happens in a couple of weekends in September, that maybe you lose a close one. You're not going to go and only have one loss all season, go to the Grey Cup. There's going to be some losses coming along. BC is going to be a challenge coming up next month. that's going to be determine how good the Riders really are.
Well, especially just the way some of the games have been going this year. You would think just based on how the CFL is that they'd have more than one loss anyway, so they're guaranteed to get a couple of losses along the way just the way the league is. So even if they lose 3 more games along the way, is anyone going to be unhappy with them finishing first with only 3 losses? I don't think so.
The CFL East, not as strong as it is in the West, we know that. Toronto leading the way. Granted, Ricky Ray was the main reason why the Argos are on top of the CFL East Division. But now he's banged up. They have Caleros. He's been so-so. The last start against Calgary wasn't that great. But they have Hamilton right behind them now at 4-4. Granted, 2 wins against Winnipeg, but still are 2 wins. They're 4-4 right now. Do you still see this as Toronto's division to lose?
I do. They're first now. They have a little bit of a cushion. If you look even at the East right now, Winnipeg not doing great. Hamilton starting to come together, but the Owls aren't even doing that great. So really, Hamilton's pretty much going to be their only competition to get that spot. And I looked over their schedules, and Toronto's got a little bit easier way. They play Winnipeg a few times, the Owls a few times in Edmonton, whereas Hamilton's got to play Calgary and BC again. So I would say based on the schedule that Toronto can hold on to that division.
Like, even though they don't have Ricky Ray in the lineup, they still have Chad Owens. They have some weapons on offense. They have their defensive line is probably better than it was last year when they won the Grey Cup. So I still think, yeah, definitely the East is theirs to lose.
Yeah, Ricky Ray says that team is a lot better than the team that won the Grey Cup last year. A team that's really struggled this year that had a lot of high hopes was the Toronto Blue Jays, sticking with the East. Blue Jays have, with all the hype, this is probably one of their worst seasons ever in team history. Is it safe to say that this is one of the worst baseball or Blue Jay teams in recent memory?
It's not been the best Blue Jays team in recent memory. As far as I can remember, this has been the most disappointed that I've personally been with the Blue Jays team, especially so much hype and Batista and Encarnacion, and then you bring in guys like Reyes and Dickey's here, and it's like, okay, like at least, you know, there's teams here, they got a rotation, they got some hitters, and then just as the season's gone on, especially this August, they have, 2 wins in the last 10, and just the Astros are beating them, and it's tough to watch sometimes.
Like, didn't we talk about this in March? All the hype of the Blue Jays, the big trade with the Marlins, and thinking that this is going to be possibly the best Blue Jays team ever. And we said it could go either way. It could go really great, or it could go, and it's gone. You know what? It's gone to the dumps. And you know what? And the thing is, there's so many different ingredients that just did not come together. Their starting rotation we thought was going to be the best in the majors, one of the worst in the majors. Errors in the field, timely hitting not there at all, and just all the players. And there's a few injuries too, but at the same time, yeah, it's laughable almost.
I will say this: when they made the trade for Joe Carter, Roberto Alomar, and got those big names, that team, that was in '91, didn't make it. '92, '93, they won World Series. So it was time to build chemistry. I'm trying to give hope for Blue Jay fans out there. All right. Well, you know what? When we come back, there might be some hope for Kyle here as he takes on Greg for Over Under coming up next.